In this video, I'm going to be replacing the old light switches in my bathroom to newer style rocker switches. Now, these are three-way switches because this bathroom is a Jack and Jill and there's two entrances to the bathroom. I have two switches I'm going to be doing. So before we get started though, I'm going to sit down and explain what the difference between light switches are so that if you're in a similar situation, you know which switch you have to buy from the store and why they are different. If you're interested in replacing the light switches in your house, you're going to have to know which switches to buy. So there are several different styles out there that do different things. So the most common are a single pole and a three pole or a three-way switch. Now there are two other ones that are less common, and that is a double pole and a four-way switch. A single pole is your most common. That's just going to be a switch that controls one or multiple lights from a single location. So if you enter your bedroom, for instance, you typically only have light control or say fan control for the fan and light overhead at a single location. That's a single pole switch. One switch controls one light or multiple lights at that one location. Your next most common is going to be your three-way switch or three pole. This is where the light or multiple lights is controlled from two light switches. This is common in hallways and stairwells or large rooms like a kitchen. This allows you to walk in, turn on the light at one location such as the start of the hallway, and then walk to the end of the hallway and turn off the light. So even though it seems like that's considered a double pole because there's only two switches there, it's considered a three pole. And the reason for is a double pole switch is used for industrial applications, and it's used to control heavy machinery to be able to turn on and off that circuit that takes 240 volts. So that's what a double pole is used for. So that is not common in any household typically. Now a four-way switch is less common but can still be found in some houses based off the size of the room. This is typically going to be found most likely in a very large living room or family room. And this allows the lights to be controlled from three or more locations. So if you have three or more entrances to the room, you might end up having four-way switches being used there. Now that you know what the differences between switches are, you may want to know how to identify them. Now a single pole switch is really easy to identify, especially in this style, because it's going to say on or off on the switch based off of which position it's in. Now your three-way switches will not say that because of the way they work. Because technically, since you have two switches there, if I flick it up, it might be on, or if I flick it down, it might be on, because depending on what the other switch position is currently at. So that's also another easy identifier if you have three-way switches because they're not going to say anything. Now your newer rocker styles, they typically won't say anything at all. So it doesn't help you if you have the newer style. But if you have the older flick styles, then they will say on or off on them. They're also really easy to identify from the back. A single pole switch has two gold terminals on the back and then the one ground terminal typically. Now your three-way switch will typically have three terminals on the back, two of them being gold and one of them typically being black, and then also your green ground terminal. So if you're looking at them in the store, they're really easy to identify, or if you happen to say buy a new house and there were some switches left over in a drawer somewhere that the previous owners left, then you can quickly go through and identify a single pole to a three pole switch. Besides looking at the switches, the easiest way really to identify if you need a three-way or a single pole switch is simply see if the light is controlled from multiple locations. For the bathroom, for instance, I know that I have two light switches that control this bathroom light. And for some of my bedrooms, I walk in and there's only one light switch that controls that light. So I know that's a single. Now you can use a three-pole switch as a single pole switch. So if you happen to walk into a room and you're looking for the on and off on here because you have this style of switch and it doesn't have it on and off, so you're like, oh, it's a three-way switch, and you flick it, but it only controls one light source at that one location, then it's possible that they just simply put in a three-pole switch at that location because they had one on hand and it saved them some money because they didn't have a single pole. But that doesn't mean that you need a three pole to replace it. It just means that you need to just buy a single pole switch to replace it to have it correct. Okay, now let's get into the installation process. The switch is really easy to install, but anytime we're dealing with electricity, the first step is always going to be turn off the power at the breaker. Now for lights, this is incredibly easy to know because all you're going to have to do is have the light on, go to the breaker. Once you identify the correct breaker, you turn it off. You know for sure because your light is going to be off. Okay, my power's off. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove the faceplate to start with. And now I'm going to unscrew my light switch. Now that it's free, just pull it out from the wall. Alright, before you start unscrewing anything, you're just going to want to look at what they currently have hooked up. So what we've got going on here is with this older style switch, they do not have a ground terminal, which is okay. So I've got two terminals that are silverish in color, and I have one that is black. Now the black, that is my common terminal. The two silvers are called traveler terminals. So what I want to do is when I hook up my new one, I want to make sure that the wire that's going to my black terminal, which is the common, goes to the black terminal on my new switch. And then the other two, they're silver on here, they are gold on here. It doesn't matter on the new switch that they're gold, but I just need to make sure that they are hooked up to the gold ones. Now it doesn't matter which one they are hooked up to, they're essentially independent of each other, because all they're doing is providing a path for electricity to be able to go to, whether it's in the up position or the down position, based off, of course, what the other switch is currently doing at that moment. So, you know, again, the light can turn on here or the light can turn on here, just simply based off of the other one. So your common terminal, one of these switches, power is coming in at the common terminal. And then a wire from here runs over to the common terminal on the other switch. And then that wire then runs up to the light. So only one of them has actual live power coming from the breaker. And then it simply transfers that power over to the other switch, which then sends it up to the light. Now that does not mean that the switch is safe to touch if you have the breaker still on and you pull it out from the wall, so long as you don't touch this. No, that's not what that means. Everything in here is technically a hot wire. It's just only one of them is coming directly from the breaker. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start with my common terminal. I'm going to remove that wire first, and I'm going to immediately hook it up to my new switch. In newer wiring these days, what they'll typically do is that if you have a three-way switch hookup or setup, what the common terminal will typically use a red wire so that no one is confused that it is the wire meant for the common. Now you'll notice here that we have a black and a white wire, and standard wiring, the black is the hot and the white is the neutral. In this case, the white is acting as another hot wire because it's just transferring that power to be able to have the switch work in either position. So don't think of it as a neutral in this case. Your neutrals are all wound together back here and capped off, and then the grounds are also tied together back there. So since I don't have anything to be able to hook up to my ground terminal here, I'm just going to leave it empty. And now last one. And just like that, we're done with our hookup. So at this point, I'm going to put it back in the wall and then go do the other one. Alright, so that's how you install a three-way light switch. So it's very simple. The only thing you really need to focus on is that common terminal that you need to make sure you get correct from your old switch to your new one. And then the other two are interchangeable on the new terminals, so that's not a big deal. So I hope you guys learned something from this video, and if you did and you liked it, then go ahead and give us a thumbs up and click the subscribe button and stick around because we got more videos coming out every Thursday, so we'll see you then.